Tell you that we are quite funny. Hello everyone. We are very sorry about our technical difficulties. That's actually, like two technophobes sitting here.
It's like the Chuckle Brothers of the coaching world.
I tell you guys, it was just what happened is just actually quite funny. We had one tick that in the microphone on my side, it was saying echo and a noise cancellation, which was great, but it cancelled out my entire voice actually. Oh my god. At least we got live now, so whoever is online, that's great. And they all must think we're crazy. 15 minutes late. But hey, listen, this is good. We've managed to get online finally. Let's see if we can put it. Oh, that's nice actually. This puts us like nice at each other. See? I mean, StreamYard works fine, that's it. But I want to get this OBS studio to work because I have like everything here. See, like I have the programming thing. I don't even can just show you. I'll show you here. You see, this is the programming thing and everything. It actually works really fine. I mean, that's my camera now. But it works fine normally. And it worked earlier. I tried it everything before we... What did I do to my camera now? Here we go. I should not touch anything anymore in this computer. No, exactly. Stop touching things. At least I get my podcast out in the morning. I figured out now how to do the podcast in the morning at like 5:30. So I sit here at 5:30 in the morning with my coffee in my hand. Here we go. And I do the podcast. Well, Kellyanne, so today we're going to talk about something interesting we said because we both have a subject I think that nobody really likes to address most of the time. And it's kind of a funny thing. It's like, and you tell me later how you see it, but it's sometimes I feel it's like still a subject of taboo. And I don't find that really funny that how that can be still, because I mean we're in 2021. How can that be still a subject of taboo? But it's an interesting. So what we decided today, because next week we're going to have a guest from Germany actually, Goody Welford, and Goody has been. Yay, I'm listening. Hello, Debbie. We can see that. So we can see that Debbie is here right now listening. Hello. We had some technical difficulties again, Debbie. We'll figure it out next week. I promise you, everything should work. Otherwise, I'm going to do it now 3 days in advance. We're going to test it, Kelly, like 5 times until everything is right and we don't touch it anymore. It's just like turn it on and let's go. It's quite funny actually. Anyway, so something that we decided to talk about today. Well, I don't know where I was going with Goody. See, I get distracted as well. Goody and I, you laughing. You start finding it so funny, right?
Squirrels.
Squirrels, I tell you that. So Goody is... she is an NLP trainer, and especially we are long-term friends already. So she is... doing as well very motivational work, but what she does as well, she's especially focusing on young children and adults, or young adults right now, and what she's going to talk about with the resilience and the children, how they have been affected by the COVID pandemic. I think it's going to be a really interesting interview next week. So if you guys want to ever join us on the show, we're actually going to accept application. We will put on our page in the next 2 days, I think we're going to pull, because we are reorganizing onto our webpage as well at the moment. So what you're going to put a link, you just go there, you fill out the application, you can actually book yourself. Actually, there will be a link to Calendly, so you can actually book yourself in to this Zoom call, and then from the Zoom call basically we'll take you in if we ever get the studio to work. Otherwise oh, your new hair look. Yeah, see, I got a haircut, yeah. You see,
I noticed. We're all very snazzy today, aren't we, Chris?
I mean, very snazzy today, exactly. There you go, fierce. There is the fierceness coming through. So, what we're going to talk about today is mental health, basically. I mean, everybody that has followed me a little bit, I mean, about 5 months ago, I just had a mental breakdown. And I've been basically diagnosed with CPTSD. Little did I know that I had been... I'm sorry, I can't even say the word because I keep calling them like this now. But little did I know that I had been mentally, physically, and sexually abused by my own parents. it all came out in the pandemic. It's kind of a funny, well, it's not funny actually, because it put me into a really bad place. And with being an NLP master practitioner and trainer and doing motivational things, and I should have been able to cover that. And actually I should have been able to deal with it in a way better way I dealt with it. But I actually couldn't. I actually completely froze up. And it just came up like out of nowhere, which I find again, this proves us as transformational coaches and as NLP trainers, this proves to us how amazing our brain is in actually hiding this. I mean, for me, definitely over 40 years. I can trace it back now that even still at 14, 15, that was still going on. And I can't even fathom how my brain was capable to keep that away from me, these images. I mean, now they're very vivid, and I have really confirmed them. But, you know, obviously I have learned now to deal with them on a daily basis. But it's still a taboo subject in general, I think. People look at you funny when you said you have a mental health issue. I don't know how you see that, Kellyanne, but I want you to come in as well, because we talk about it. We have, that's, guys, it's really important that you know, this interview right now this chat between the two of us, we have not discussed what we're going to talk about. And we actually did it yesterday. We had a phone call with each other, and I said to Kellyanne, I said, I want you to tell your story as I tell my story as it is. I don't want you to have information because it is real. I mean, I'll ask you I said, listen, you're in the military, you have seen a lot of things happening in the military. I mean, you have been deployed as well, so, you know, you obviously, and as a nurse, you obviously seen a lot of things, and we don't have to talk about PTSD. Now, CPTSD is the difference, where starts in childhood, and there are many traumatic events that actually concur, and therefore it's called complex PTSD. Now, PTSD, a lot of veterans have that because of the deployment. So anyway, I want you to jump in. So here we go.
My story. I mean, I'm not backwards and coming forwards about it nowadays. When it first happened with me, I have to admit I didn't want anyone to know. Obviously, doing the job that I do as well, and anyone in the military knows, as soon as you start getting low mood, put onto your med docs, you know, it's a spiral downwards. And I never ever wanted anyone to know when I was going through it. So my drama was, I was fine for years and years and years. I joined the military 2003. I commissioned in 2011 to be an officer. Put a lot of pressure on myself. And funnily enough, like looking back through that journey, actually, a lot of it was around, I literally manifested getting through that process. But that's a story for another time. It's a great story, honestly.
Yeah.
But I've always put a lot of pressure on myself. 2015 rolled round, and I really wanted to do my specialist nursing course in primary healthcare, so I could be a practice nurse. And I did, but it was during this time. So juggling 3 kids, a husband who's also in the military, the chain of command, the course. I started getting anxiety and panic attacks. And they could get really bad, to the point where I'd just literally be sat in between patients, and I could just feel waves and waves of panic coming over me all the time. And it was partly my fault, because I've always thought of myself as a high achiever. And I've always felt like I've had something to prove. And, you know, as you know, Chris, that I've been writing sort of the book about my story, basically. Yeah. When I look back, a lot of it was to do with the fact that I felt like I had to prove myself to my dad. And I love my dad to bits, but it took him 29 years to tell me that he loved me and he was proud of me. And that was the day that I passed off the square at Sandhurst. So anyway, I got to the end of my course and things started to improve for a little while. So about a year later, I had a car crash while I was commuting backwards and forwards. And it was only an 80-mile commute. But I literally manifested this car crash. Every single day I would get in the car and it would just go around in my head on loop. I'm going to crash the car, I'm going to crash the car, I'm going to crash the car. And obviously it happened. But I had two of the boys in the car. And I was having a lot of issues with my boss. She was quite difficult to work for, very micromanaging. And the car crash was sort of the bit that tipped me back over the edge again. So I started again with panic attacks. So my face would go numb when I was driving. I couldn't feel my hands. I could just feel the waves of panic coming over me, and I just didn't want anyone to know. And it's something that continued for 3.5 years after that, on and off. So it was really difficult, because in the job that I'm in, and I should know better, I know that, but I just didn't want to go and see a doctor and it was that fear of judgment, and not so much by the doctor, but as soon as it's on your med docs and people start to find out, obviously the unit health committee that we have, they talk about everybody who's going through sort of care, anybody who's under the DCMH, which is our mental health team. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it. So that was kind of my story of suffering from anxiety and panic attacks. And it was funnily enough, sort of my getting into coaching and learning about personal development that sort of pulled me through it in the end, and eventually leading me to my coach, Noor. And she's just incredible. Like, the stuff that I've learned in the last year, it really, really has improved my mental health. And a lot of it is around sort of mindfulness, meditation. There's loads of different things that I've put into sort of action steps. And again, looking at my childhood and why that happened to me eventually, it's just like that compound effect, isn't it, throughout the years of all the different little things, going on tour.
And the funny thing of one of the comments you just made, which I thought was really interesting, where you said, like, and you love your father to bits, and I find it's really interesting. But as you said, God bless him, he took him 29 years to actually say that. And it's just kind of, one of the things that I have been looking at recently is like this, it's almost this narcissistic behavior, the way how they think that they are you told me a bit about it yesterday, where they think that it's all to the outside world. Basically, they're acting like everything is fine, everything is amazing, and they're doing the best and everything. It's like the same was for my parents. Like, very highest in society. To the outside, everybody thought we were the perfect family. What happened inside, nobody actually really realized. And I mean, it's like, I find it really interesting where it is, and I think Goody will talk about it next week, actually, where she talks about the inner child, actually, which gets underdeveloped due to that. Basically, it just gets hidden away, because we have to compensate their failures, actually. And I find that really interesting. And I see, for me, it was really funny, because my mom died 35 years ago, and I thought always, I hated my father all my life, but that's a different story. But my mom, I put on this, how could I say, on this pedestal. And I thought, like, oh my God, my mom, and, it was, when she died, it was horrible for me. Now, I say completely different. I said, I outlived the one already, I'm going to outlive the other one as well. Yeah. And this is as harsh as it might sound, but as I said, and especially us being in the business of self-development and NLP coaching, we should know these tactics better than anybody else. Kind of funny though, that we sometimes can't even tap into it ourselves, and that is even fascinating myself even more. It took me really long to come to closure with that, actually, that had happened to me, because at the end of the day, I'm very honest to you, I didn't believe that there's going to be another side. Now, obviously, there is for me another side. And I mean, this is why we're sitting here today, because I pulled myself together again and I said, listen, I can actually help more people as a motivational speaker and as a coach and everything than I'll do, and just deal with that. Because I find it's really funny. It's like, you know, everybody's like always trying to say, oh, you need to go to therapy or whatever. I do. Sometimes I really agree, and sometimes I disagree, because I still have a mental health practitioner I talk to, a mental health nurse actually, Katie, and I really love her for how she is, and as well my GP, she's amazing. And, you know, we just had it 2 days ago, we had a conversation, which is great about that. It's just like, sometimes I question if these things get better, because these flashbacks come unannounced. I don't choose when they come, and when it's just like, I had like about 2 weeks ago, it was really interesting. I could smell the perfume of my mom everywhere in the house. Now you would say, oh well, maybe that was another smell. I tell you, this perfume is a very particular one. It's Poison by Dior, and Poison by Dior is hideous.
Yeah.
And you know, and I smelt it everywhere, and I smelled it for days on end. And you know, the funny thing about it is this automatic reaction that comes then when, you know, when you talk about flashbacks and arming, this arming where you go into this armoring state, in this defense state. And something that I have always said, you know, like, you know, I've been doing coaching and NLP speeches and on stage and everything. Little did people know that I felt really empty. I could go on stage and go like, yay, let's go, and then actually inside I was just empty. I was just doing it. It was just this mask that I was wearing. And I did not know why. Actually, I'll tell you that. Honestly, I think I ran through the world the last 25 years pretty emotionless. I did not cry. I always laughed, and people always thought that I was laughing from honesty, but I wasn't. I was just having a mask on. I was just faking it, because I did not want to see people that I felt empty inside. And as I said, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of funny, because when you have all the NLP masteries and everything, when you have done that, you should be able to tap into that. But that's why it's so important as well, because you said you have your own coach as well. And I think it's really important to have your own coach. And I think even the biggest, I mean, I learned under Tony Robbins. I have the mastery of Tony Robbins. But to be very honest, even Tony has his own coach. And I think it's really important to have, you do need to have your own coach, because there are so many things that we don't see, we have this tunnel vision, I think, sometimes, where we only see in one direction. We do not, as much as we know the techniques to apply and how to get out of this tunnel vision, we actually don't know how to tap into it in these situations. And I find it really interesting, because I think it's really one of the things that a lot of people don't want to talk about it. I think they feel uncomfortable, and I don't even know why, because it's like everybody else. You can get coronavirus, seriously. It's like you can get any other sickness. It's an illness that actually happens. And most of the time, these mental health issues, they do not even... they don't even come from yourself. They are actually coming from a lot of trauma situations that happen, and you know how our brain actually does it. And it's really, I find it really interesting that society still, I mean, you hear this mental health matters and everything, everybody's talking about that right now. But actually, you know, when you say like, oh, you tell somebody, oh, you're depressed or whatever, and they what. This is as well another thing that really annoys me, because everybody just automatically says you're depressed. I mean, I have ADHD, and I have ADHD since I am 6 or 7. That's when they diagnosed it. So I have been dealing with that all my life. It's so annoying to me. I don't know how you feel about it when people say to me, yeah, but everybody's a little bit ADHD. They don't even have a clue what it means to have ADHD. They don't even understand that my brain is in a non-stop 3,000 miles an hour go every day, 24 hours around the clock. But as fast as my brain goes, it limits me as well to do certain things. Like I could have the dishes there in front. I tell myself in my head, I need to do the bloody dishes, but it doesn't get over to the action part, and I stand there in front of it, and it's going to be there for 3 days, and it's really frustrating. That's where we call the secondary symptoms come then, where you get depressed because you're incapable of doing what the logic person would do. I mean, this is just what you would do. The dishes would be there, you would do the dishes. But my brain just doesn't receive the message from my soul process, I want to do the dishes, to the action part. It's not happening. The connection is not happening. And that's what people don't understand. They think like ADHD still to nowadays as well. It's like, people think it's like this hyperactive children. Actually, the hyperactivity is not even exteriorized. A lot of ADHD, and actually the hyperactivity, it means in the brain. It's actually not. People put that with jumping up and down children, and that's what I think was something really in the early 2000s, where it was just any child that was just a bit active was automatically classified as ADHD. And that's where this comes from. Well, everybody has a bit of ADHD. And I just would like to slap them sometimes in the face. And I said, seriously, like Tony Robbins, shout at them, stop smoking! You're hypnotized now. No, it's not.
I love him.
I mean, Jesus Christ. This is kind of funny, but it's the truth. You would like to go, sometimes you go like, and you would like to slap them in the face. And I was like saying like, you have no fucking idea. You don't even have a clue what's going on here. It's like people saying, oh, well, PTSD. Yeah, everybody. It's like, people don't even know what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, I think depression has become the new flu of the world. Everybody's like talking about it, and they don't even know what they're talking about. They say, okay, this is where we come here as NLP coaches. We need to be really open. 90% of the people that say they are depressed, they're not. They actually said, and everybody has said moments. I'm not jumping up and down the entire day and saying, yay, everything's fine. No, we don't.
I mean, I was never ever depressed.
No.
Through all of that, never.
See?
I knew exactly what it was. And my mum suffered a lot over the years as well with the same sort of thing. But it's too easy to label things, isn't it, really?
It is. And I think it's such an insult to the people that really, really suffer from it, because it gets so minimized. And, there's nothing to minimize things here, because, sorry, this is just people suffering on these things, right? And I just had this, as I said, I had this conversation with Katie the other day, and she's like, she said, but Chris, and I love her because she's like, she has herself CPTSD. So, to be very honest, if anybody knows about that, childhood trauma, she does. And she kept saying to me, she's like, but you know what, it's going to get better? And I said, do you think so? I'm not so sure about it. I do have my coping mechanisms and how I deal with it on a daily basis. And I function very well. Well, beside my computer, but that's different. But I function very well, actually. And as we were talking about things like this happening on a daily basis, like armoring flashbacks, I cannot control that; they just appear, right? Yeah. But obviously, by now, after I've gone through the crisis, which was really a crisis, and I should be telling you, honestly, for 3-4 weeks, I was gonna, right? I couldn't even, they couldn't even, and what came on top of it is just the combination with ADHD. I actually went to bed. I was really tired, like at 10 o'clock in the evening, and as soon I hit the pillow, it went all haywire. Then my ADHD brain kicked in. So now my ADHD brain was processing the trauma. And it kept me awake literally 24 hours around the clock. So then they tried with heavy medication like sleeping pill and everything. And then this is obviously I don't like to have medication because I do everything to become healthy and be healthy. And then I don't want to put myself under 10,000 medication. And that is kind of interesting as well because we do not want to how can I say that? They want to give you, well, my GP, she's really good in that one. She's like, okay, I'll prescribe you Zopiclone for sleeping, but just take it when you really need it. And I don't even take it anymore, but I did at that time, and I only took half of it because this is very addictive as well. So we need to be careful here. This is sometimes where I think as well the pharmacy industry and actually this entire medical service system is they have no interest to you getting better because you're making them so much money, right? So you get like, I got bags and bags from my pharmacy of medication at one stage, and I was like, I'm not having all of that one. This is my dinner and lunch together actually. Sorry. But it's just one of these things where you think like, really? What you want to make us healthy? No, you're actually masking the entire thing. So that were the first 4 weeks, which were really bad because I couldn't sleep, my brain was in overload, and when this is the worst thing that can happen in situations like this, and you probably know yourself when you have anxiety panic attacks actually, where the worst thing that can happen to you is if you can't sleep, because insomnia is causing even a bigger issue right now because now you're really getting bad. And that's exactly what I think, hey, and it's just really important that we need to make the point on that. But while people talk about it very lightly as a subject, it is not to be taken lightly. And I think even as coaches we can sit here and say, okay, fine, these are the coping mechanisms we can give you the tools to actually take your life in control again. The most impressive thing is actually is like you need to be willing to do the work basically, and you need to actually sit down and do it, and the willingness as well. And a lot of people are not even willing, or they are willing, but they're afraid to deal with the situation. And of course, as you said, normally people wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
They might tell their husband, their closest, but they don't.
Yeah, but not the people that you work with. And
yeah.
But I think it's really important as well that you have the two sides of it. So especially when you're in a crisis like you were, that you've got that sort of medical support. But I am 100% a believer that you need both sides of it, really. And I think I probably would have recovered a lot quicker if I hadn't have been so scared to actually talk about it.
Speak out about it. And that is, I think that's the most important thing. It's like, as I said, we are good in giving advice to our clients, but we're not very good in taking that on our own. Which is kind of the funny part of it, because it's like we should know better. We should know. We absolutely should know better, and we're not doing that. And
I mean, we are now.
We actually are. We have broken the code, exactly. The code of honor here. Do not talk about it. It's like, this is what people would say to you. It's like, why are you talking about that? Well, because it's necessary to talk about it, because apparently it's still an issue in this world that you shouldn't talk about things like that. And I mean, I know I'm a bit older than you, but it's like, growing up in the 70s or even 80s or 90s, this was always like, I can't talk about it like this. It's like this. It's behind the closed tent. And it's just like, bloody hell. This is the people are suffering, and they are even afraid to reach out because they don't want to reach out because they feel, how are somebody judging us? Which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
But that's it, isn't it? We're tribal, you know. What the brain's developed, 1% in 1,000 years. We need to belong, and that's why we do it. That is purely that fear of judgment, is because we're tribal creatures. You know, we've not evolved at all.
Oh no. That is so like, oh my god, well, if you go into involvement and everything, it's like, you know, we're talking about communication and say, oh, the communication. I mean, I think today in my podcast I actually talked about it, is like where you should just shut off these things for 5 minutes and focus on yourself. Be focused. That was today's subject, and it was about focusing back to yourself and actually say what it's really doing, because we think we have evolved with our communication standards, which we haven't. We haven't at all. We actually constantly bloody on these phones, and
it's gone back over. The tech's evolved, but we haven't.
Yeah, it's just, oh my god, it's just like we really think about it. Actually, the Egyptians were probably smarter and more advanced than we were. Actually, I made a really good point about it, because actually look at the Egyptians. They had sewer systems and automated systems and everything, you know, and especially sewage for the toilets and everything. It was all out to the seas, right? Well, in the Middle Ages, we went back in the bushes and shit in the bushes. Sorry.
I mean, we still do that in the military.
Okay, fine, fair enough. But to be very honest, when you look at that, like, they were way further advanced than we were, and it's just like, really, what happened? What happened with humanity's brain here? Because apparently that doesn't work properly, and it's really interesting how to see that, how people, I don't know, how still nowadays, especially after, you see, okay, I want your opinion on that one, because that interests me as well. I would have thought that during coronavirus, during the pandemic, we would have learned something to communicate with people, to reach out to people, etc. I don't see it anymore. I think that was like all in the beginning, maybe, a short-lived thing. And now everybody's back to their own business and doesn't give a crap. It doesn't matter if you think there is a danger or not, but there should be a mutual respect. If I'm wearing the mask, you should not come into my personal space. Because I'm wearing the mask for a reason. And I mean, this is a very clear indicator. When I go to the supermarket and I'm wearing the bloody mask, you should not jump over me and say, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What part of that social distance you don't understand anymore? Because everybody's running around and doesn't care anymore. I find that really interesting, but that's my personal opinion about it. But I can see why the government is doing that, because economy above human people's life. But anyway, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, that's what I think. I don't want to get political here. Actually,
I know, I can't comment on politics. I get told off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be in the boss's office signing security paperwork if I say anything.
No, but yeah, see, you don't even have to comment on that one, because I have my comment, and I don't care actually. So I'll do my comment on it, and I think it's just. But it's not even about the government, how the government is treating or handling the situation. That, you know, I think every government around the world has failed at certain points during the pandemic. I think we're the forerunners on a lot of failures, but you know, anyway, we have shown the world very well how to fail the entire thing. But anyway, that's one of the things, you know. I get
what you mean, though. When you talk about sort of obviously the pandemic, it's very similar to basically what we've gone through personally, because isn't that the whole idea, is that the world's, you know, that life is cyclical. You go through the dark night of the soul to come out in a better place.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just waiting for the better place after the pandemic, because we're not quite there yet. But
I don't see it even happen, and that's what the problem is. Actually, I think people are getting. I mean, look in the movements in Canada, and I mean it's all over the place. The anti-vaxxer movements. It doesn't matter what you think. It's fair enough. You don't want to get vaccinated. Fair enough. You don't. But I don't think you should be running around the street demonstrating for stopping these vaccinations, because at the end of the day, people saying like, well, the government wants to control it. I mean, God, all these conspiration, conspiracy theories, like microchips and everything, and Bill Gates, and I'm like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I was not very keen on getting the vaccine as well. I tell you honestly, I held off quite long. Because I was 50, so when 50 we were really early to get them, like this. But I held off really long. I actually got it only in end of July, and then August was the second jab. Yeah, but I tell you
in January.
But
get it in.
Yeah, but you see, I was holding off for one particular reason, because I thought as well that the vaccine has been rushed out, and actually the side effects and everything, we didn't have anything. I understand why it was rushed out. It's not that I question the way why it was done, because obviously we wanted to get as soon as possible the virus and the mutation of the virus under control. Obviously that's the main focus here, because a lot of people think the vaccine is there for their liberties. No, it's not for their liberties. It's actually to make sure that this virus doesn't mutate even further, and that they have some certain control, and obviously decrease the death rate on it, because when we go back to March last year, where the people were dropping like flies basically. So that's one. But I didn't feel comfortable with the unvaccinated or untested vaccine on the market. So I was holding off to it, and I said, listen, I know I don't have too many social contacts right now, and when I go out, I always have the mask on anyway, so I was really protecting myself. But, but I would have never become an anti-vaxxer, because I just said, for my own personal choice, I hold off. Then, because I was going out more, and obviously, we're looking at going back on stage and things like that, the way we're going to do on the 11/11. Should we announce it? No, we don't announce it here. We're going to 11/11. Keep the 11/11 of November in your calendar open. And to be very honest to you guys, it's just, you had to get the vaccine, because the minimization of the risk actually is quite satisfying. Let's say, even if it was only 60%, or now they're talking about after 6 months it drops to 20 and whatever percent, but it's still more than not having it. Yes, the risk of a blood clot is there, we know that, but this is for me a minor risk, or a considerable risk. I can have an aspirin and get a shock on it and die. I can have any other medication. I can have penicillin and have a shock. Actually, I'm allergic to amoxicillin. So I found out on a hard way. On Ibiza, actually. I was on Ibiza. I had a bit of an infection.
Took a pill in Ibiza?
No, I took a pill in Ibiza. Kind of that, like that, yeah. So I actually took, I think it was on my second day or whatever when I arrived at Ibiza. I had bronchitis, so he gave me amoxicillin. And actually, when I was in Ibiza, we went out in the evening, and I was in the nightclub, and suddenly I felt really weird. And I was like, okay, somebody put something into my drink. And then all was going black on me. And I just had really like a panic attack, and I said to my friends, I said, I need to get out of here, I need to get out of here. And then I sat outside, and then I started to shiver, and then I started to flush up everywhere. So yes, I ended up in the hospital then, and that night. Well, and apparently I was I'm allergic to amoxicillin. But that's this nobody could have known actually
No,
at that
of
point. So
course not.
and that's what I'm saying. So the risk and the benefits need to balance it out. But what do you think about that? It's like people. I don't know. It's just like
See,
this. Not
with my
politically.
nurse, not politically,
No.
but with my nurse head on, I don't see it any different to the flu. As in, I always get my flu vaccination because it's not about me, it's about protecting other people. I've had both my jabs. I had my second one in April because it's not about me, it's about protecting other people. And so for me, it was always a no-brainer. Because, I've obviously worked in healthcare throughout the pandemic and seen the state of people and the state of the staff that look after them. And it was really hard going, especially sort of when January this year hit, and obviously with the virus mutating, that it was so much younger people, and I think that's what shocked everybody. Like we were seeing 30 and 40-year-olds in ITU and in like the acute dependency unit where I was working, and they were very, very sick. So for me, it's just a no-brainer,
Yeah, my
and
future
that's just
husband.
personal opinion. And as
Yeah, and then
well,
my future
like,
ex.
the scaremongering that winds me up. So when I first went through nurse training, do you remember the whole drama with measles?
Mm.
And it was just that random bloke with his random opinion that was not backed up in any fact, that was saying that the MMR vaccine was attributed to autism. We didn't even have any evidence, and people stopped getting it, and then kids were dying of measles. And it's like, I just think whatever you hear, you need to read into it more, as in, general public wise. Don't just take what people say on TikTok as gospel, because they do, don't they? I know my son's obsessed with them in TikTok. They'll be there, virus, pandemic, pointing at
Yeah.
random bits in the air, and you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? So yeah, I just think. I
And
mean,
you have 3 children, so you must have gone
exactly.
through some of that.
I mean, something good has got to come out at the end of this. The light at the end of the tunnel. The same is for you and me, and the same is for everybody else who's working through a dark time in their lives. These things are here for as a lesson, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
that is absolutely is exactly what I mean. It's just we have to be really honest here. These things happen, and you don't see that. And as I say, I was very good for 35 years. I could actually hide it. Well, little did I know that it was even there, because my brain actually, but I felt very empty, and everybody else thought like always, oh my God, when we see Chris, he's always cheerful, I always smiled, and everybody thought like that. But inside, I was feeling empty.
Yeah.
I could have done session with thousands of people, and you still think everybody thought I was so energized and everything, and I was so amazing delivering the NLP program and the message. But inside I was just empty. It was just a mask. I didn't know where that came from. I just thought that's how I was.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing, because there's the correlation with the two things. I distributed it and actually connected it to the death of my mum. And I thought, because I didn't cry through all her cancer period, I didn't cry, we didn't talk about that, it was just one of these things.
Yeah.
And then on the funeral day, I had the crackdown. Oh my God, I had to, for about 3 weeks, I couldn't move my facial muscles. They were so sore, because obviously I was so cramped up. And I thought, and then always thought at that point, it was just, when I say I couldn't even cry, and actually it's funny, you know how when you watch movies and they tear you up or they're emotional? I did not cry. I choked and I had pain in my throat because the tears, the emotion were coming up, but I completely controlled it. I armored up that much to not showing any, I think, emotional vulnerability. And I think that is, now I know where it's coming from, is this automatic flashbacks that are coming there. But having said all that, it's just, I felt really empty. And I thought, like, yeah, well, it's because I cried my heart out when my mom died. So I didn't have emotions. Well, little did I know that actually she beat me up. Or this is so silly that, or you know, it's not silly, but it's so surreal for me. With a brain and the high IQ and everything, how I was able to manage.
So I've got an amazing recommendation for you.
Okay, good.
So I've been listening to, and you need to listen to it or read it. It's The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and it basically opens with his study into PTSD. And it moves through all sorts of different aspects of mental health and sort of through his practices since the 70s. It's incredible. It talks about all these things.
Okay, I'm 75 to get the vaccine. Here we go. I have to show that. Here we go. That is Debbie. Debbie said, I'm 71 afraid to get the vaccine. I wear the mask and go to grocery store and practice social distancing. Debbie, that's all right. I think it's your own decision, and I can understand you're afraid to get the vaccine because, I mean, Debbie, we know Debbie is really fit at 71. I mean, that's amazing. But we get that, Debbie, that you might not want to, you're afraid that you might get the risk or something like that. We get that. I mean, as long as you wear your mask, I find that really, really, really great because you're still protecting yourself, right? And this is why I'm getting angry. That's what exactly. It doesn't matter. For you, it's a no-brainer, obviously, because you're in health services, and I said that. But I get as well the point of Debbie, not to wear the mask, or not to get the vaccine. I get her point as well. But she's not an anti-vaxxer here. She's not going to go out on the street and say, like, okay, fine, I don't want to vaccinate you, right? It's just about, she says, I'm afraid that there might be side effects to me, and in my age, I cannot afford to have these side effects because, yes, I'm not 20 anymore. But even there are people with 20 that had side effects. We have to be honest. And that's, so it's a bit of a gamble. Yes, there's a minority of cases like this, but, you know, still there are these cases. What I wanted to ask you, actually, if you just send me right now a comment, a private chat comment, I can copy the book name and I can put it in the ticker down there.
It's incredible.
Great. Okay, fine. I love when you give when we give recommendation. It's like you can read. We read probably a lot of books. So I'm reading actually for complex PTSD. That is even more amazing. And I was just like, I'm gonna have to look it up as well now. What's this? So I can just kind of do that book as well. And that one was recommended to me. And this is the first and only one that I have read so far, but he is amazing. But when I was reading his story in the book, it was like, it's by Pete Walker, and Pete Walker himself, he has himself complex PTSD. And one of the amazing things he goes through his own story, and then he has obviously built a lot of how can I say, a lot of things. That was nice. Okay, fine. So you sent me that in a private chat. Yeah, okay, fine. So I'm just going to do one first right now. The book that I actually was saying. This is the book. If you're ever interested in it, that's a really good book to read, actually. And he has a lot of His name is Pete Walker. I don't know why he's putting that in the banner. Or he should be. It should be. Maybe I need to hide that one. I need to hide that one. I think that's the way. And then can I do the ticker? Yeah, I can do it. Yes, scroll across the button ticker. Here we go. That's now it's going to be a ticker. So I learned StreamYard as well. See, even as a technophobe, I get it done here. So now I'm gonna. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, so he's giving you like 15 different techniques to deal with it. Book is amazing. However, the problem is with this book is, as it is so realistic, and you read the story of him and you read your own life basically. That's what I said there. It's like, bloody hell, I'm reading my own life here. The funny thing about it is though that, well, not funny. This is kind of a book which you have to put down sometimes because it gets very personal and very deep. And I think this is important as well because you can't just read like this. There are different things like the Go Giver book, which is just an easy read and you read it through and it's just like, wow, it blows your mind, right? And you go like, wow, that is really what I do. But when we're talking about these mental health issues books, I think it's always you need to be very careful, slowly move into it, because I think that's what it is. So that's the book that The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Is he Dutch?
Well, I presume it's him narrating it. He sounds American.
Oh, right.
But obviously it's just the name, I guess. But
Yeah,
it is
probably
very interesting. It's been an eye-opener.
And that's what it's all about because, it's just like, as we say, we're talking here about your stratospheric success, and as coaches that we do, and we do have our program that we do, and but we're dealing still with other issues ourselves, right? While we can help all our customers on getting their things together and, stop procrastination and everything, but to make it real, even us, we stand there and say, we have certain things that we have to work on, or we work on every day, which doesn't make us not a good coach or not being qualified for doing that. Actually, it makes us even more qualified. I think the times of nowadays where people have been there you go, where people you needed a university diploma for a lot of things. I mean, we both have spent so much money to do our masteries and to get trained as coaches ourselves to be a coach, and I think that is our personal self-development. But it doesn't exclude that we might still go through personal things, and I think it's as well important that we go through, because I think that even put us on the path that we have chosen. Do you understand? How do you see that? How do you see that? I think that's the thing. That's for me the profound drive to help other people.
Yeah, I would never ever have gotten through all of that without my coach, which is what made me want to pay that forward to other people, because I think it's so important. It's not just a bunch of woo-woo stuff that somebody one time taught me. It took me months and months to work through it and to work through all of the stuff that was going on in my head. And I just feel like that's what we're here to do, is to help other people, to serve other people and pay it forward, through what we've gone through and how we've come out the other side of it. So that's just
that's it exactly. I mean, obviously we're going to help people while we talk about it, but even in the coaching we can help people, and some of them are not even, as I said, for me, I didn't even realize it until it happened.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out what was the actual trigger that made me crack on that particular day. It was just, I tell you, 3 days before my birthday, and I just dropped on the floor. I literally dropped on the floor
Yeah.
Luckily, you know, and people follow me actually from my workout regime. I have these foam mats basically. I put them on the floor because protecting my knees and everything. And literally, they were there because the way how I dropped, I was going to hurt myself really badly there. I literally dropped, and it just in a blitz of a second it happened. I don't know. I can't tell you what I've done before, and I certainly can't tell you what I've done the next 48 hours after.
Yeah.
It's a complete blur. I know that I sat on the floor for 6 hours and I cried. And then it's kind of funny, you have this guilt feeling, that's what we talked earlier about. And it's like I was trying to beat myself up and saying, come on, Chris, you can do better. You know better. You're coaching people. You should know better. And I still couldn't snap out of it. I couldn't. It took me literally 3.5 months to snap out of it. And I say, now, for me nowadays, it's just, yes, I'm very focused on my, oops, sorry. She went again. She did it again. Her phone crashed again, I'm sure. It's so funny, we having these technical issues all the time, so. Oh my god. It's like we have the perfect pair, I tell you this, guys. I think maybe she's coming back in a minute. I'm just gonna sit here right now. Should I wait even something today? We're almost at the end anyway. But and I have like a flying snark here right now. It's really funny. Anyway, so there she is. She's back again. Let's put her. Let's add her to the stream. I said she's probably her phone again. She just
threw me out. I don't know what happened.
It just like saying, okay, let you know, I've been talking anyway more than that, right? And it's just and I think it's good that we talk about it, and I think we're really doing the right thing here, because and I know that maybe people not live right now, but as the video stays on, I mean, it's now on YouTube. It pushed through to YouTube. I see it's a green tick, so that's good. Hurrah. It's going through YouTube. It's like, hurrah! I figured out at least something here, because last week we couldn't even go to YouTube. We had only the Facebook pages, so I was like, okay, I'm figuring out things here right now. Quite funny. But to be very honest, and I think it's very important because it's going to stay there and people are going to listen to it and relate to it and, you know, even reach out to it. And I mean, this is what it is. Yes, we are doing our coaching programs, and, you know, we're teaching people how to basically go to stratospheric success and how they can run their business and how they can run their personal life and everything. This is what we're trying to bring across. But somebody reaching out to us for a mental health issue, I think we still would, I don't know how you, but I still would try to help them. And it's not about having a business as a coach, because that would be something different. You would come to us for coaching session, and that's great, but if somebody's suffering,
they just need a chat.
Yeah, that we're there for. I mean, that's what we're there for. You can reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram. We're there, and even then, I'm going to post that we have. You can even book a Zoom call with us on certain points. So, you know, it's just, I think I want to make this door open for people, because I think, unfortunately, especially here in the UK, you have to be honest, the NHS says, oh, the children are going to bed again.
Yeah, it's that time of night.
It's that time of night. Is it 9 o'clock? It's again 15 minutes over time.
2 seconds. Oh, I'm being badgered.
Yeah, I know. But we went over time because of our thing. We are now 58 minutes online, so we have the hour almost completed. Actually, 30 seconds we do have. So it was nice. I think it's just like a chat. I'm really waiting for next week with Goody. It's going to be very interesting, a conversation. and she will talk about what she just did her mastery at the University of Toronto, and she will talk about this subject of resilience. And actually, as well, it's not only for children, as well for adults. I mean, that's what she's doing. But to rediscover your inner child, I think that is a really important subject as well.
No, it'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, guys, I hope you're having a great night, and we'll try that again next week. Next week we'll hopefully get it all going. If it's not, if I say now, I have to see if I can actually get this bloody. Now it's just like, see, it's still sitting there. It says the video is still sitting there. I don't know why. I don't see it. Full screen. Do you see it now? The video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it play music? No.
No.
This is really weird. Why is it not playing music? I can
Who
play
knows?
it here. See? I'll give up. I really give up. It's just sitting there as a picture. I love the picture how it is, but you know, it's just not. This is like technophobes together.
It's the thought that counts.
Oh god, yeah, no, I just don't know what it is. Anyway, guys, have a great night. Thanks for listening and just watching, and have a great night. And let's see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. See you. Bye.